connected. All right, people, we back. Another episode of Mental Health Talks. Me and my guy, Willie, we here to just give you a little bit of that little bit of perspective in terms of not just our perspective, but just generally speaking, how we go through things and how we observe things, and understanding that mental health is not something that is just put in a box and thrown away, but it's something that really encompasses life. And like, in order for us to be healthy, we have to, in some ways, talk about these things. And so that's kind of how we started this. And so this is the fourth installment of our mental health talks. And today we wanted to talk a little bit about transparency and what that means. So last time we spoke, we were talking about the topic of community and what that means in terms of how that impacts us mentally. And today I feel like this is a decent, or at least kind of a natural continuation of that in terms of how we commune with each other and what that means. So yeah, without further ado, let's get into it. How you doing this week, bro? What you been on?
Man, as I look out the window, another day, the sun shining, my plants smiling, woke up breathing, healthy. So what more can I ask for, bro?
It's a blessing, man.
It's a blessing. Every day is an opportunity. Every day is a new lesson to learn, to grow, to be able to create what you want to be in this world. So just that, bro. So,
yeah.
You over there, you got the world on your back over there, man. What you got going on?
Oh, bro, yeah, just move, man. So I'm settling into this new spot. I figured I like this wall a lot. I've been looking at it too. It's just kind of giving me some inspiration. I feel like being able to reach people all across the globe in this day and age, it's possible. And I feel like this just kind of reminds me of that. So I'm always looking at it too, it's also kind of cool just to think about where I might want to travel in the future, like just kind of looking at it, just like, oh, what's that? So yeah, I think it'll be a good background too. Give people a little bit something different to look at. Yeah, but yeah, man, same here. Looking out the window, it's probably it's like around noon over there, right, in Chicago. Yeah, so it's like 6 o'clock over here, but sun is starting to set, but it's still nice out. So I might go for a little walk after this. We'll see. But yeah, man, as I said before, we want to talk about the topic of transparency. One of the things that Willie actually brought up before we started recording was this idea of propaganda. And I thought that was really, really powerful, because when you think of community, a lot of times what that entails is the goals of that community. Like, what are we actually aiming at? What are we trying to head towards? And if the community has been compromised by propaganda, by media, by whatever, then the goals we have are not going to gel, because they're going to be getting their talking points from somebody who may not have their best interest at heart. And I feel like that's something that we need to at least start going through, because when we talk about these things like mental health diagnoses, especially when you're thinking of it from a paradigm of the DSM, which is the psychological or the psychiatric book that they use to diagnose folks, a lot of those come from a paradigm of illness where we're looking for somebody's bad parts. And in my opinion, mental health isn't what's wrong with you, or mental illness isn't what's wrong with you. It's what's happened to you. And in a lot of ways, we have reframed it to make it seem like it's something that's wrong with that person that needs to be fixed, instead of something that person has gone through that we as a community can come together and help rectify. And so, yeah, when you talked about propaganda, I thought that was something that we could just hit off right off the bat. Like, what do you think about that? Like, what is your opinion on how we even get through in this day and age where media seems to be the predominant theme of everything? Like what we see on the television and what we see from our trusted media sources, whether that's, CNN, or whether that's Alex Jones, right? Like, you got people on all sides of the spectrum and different people that we listen to and don't listen to. what is that? How does that impact us as a whole? Because if we're going to come together and really start to grow as a community, we need to at least have the same, we got to be on the same page. And I don't think we are at this moment.
I'm gonna start from the root, bro. I'm gonna start growing up. What did we have access to? Our minds. What did our eyes see growing up? Visual. We had television, color, cartoons, like the generation before us. TV, newspaper, generation before that, literally word of mouth, some slideshow, some pictures here and there. So it's like the evolution of propaganda and technology has made it easier to influence people, and not only
Word.
made it more convenient to minds that are fragile.
Yeah, that's true. I saw this earlier today that the kids growing up, like Gen Z, they don't have real experiences anymore. A lot of their experiences are mediated through social media. Some of their closest friends are people that they've never met, people that they might not even know are real or not. Some of the, like, we all have these collective experiences, right? And we call them memes or we call them viral moments. And these are the things that we all kind of attach to. And so you say, oh, did you see that meme or did you see that video? But it's kind of odd in a way because these are all things that have happened through a screen on a device, and they haven't really been like, it's not like something that's actually happened to us, but it's something that we've just experienced through this technology. And I wonder if that has some ill effects too. Like now that you say it, it's like what are the drawbacks of having kids grow up where they don't have real experiences, where all of their experiences are? Go ahead.
It depends, bro. It depends on the person who's in control of these devices and who's creating this media goal. You can literally control the masses with clicking on the keyboard.
I just watched The Matrix a couple of days ago, bro, and it made me think about this idea. Like, I think Lupe said it in one of his songs. Like, are we apps or are we bodies filled with apparitions, bodies trapped in Apple prisons or something like that? It's like we're in this. I was like, dang, that's, and you know how Lupe be with the wordplay, like he on a different level with it. So I'm like, I was trying to like break it down, like, whoa, are we apps or are we bodies filled with Apple apparitions, bodies trapped in Apple prisons? Like, that's so true. Like we're in a way, we're trapped by these algorithms that dictate where we go and how we think. And a lot of people's opinions are really just derivatives of what they've seen on their screens. They haven't really thought anything through. They've just been told, and they kind of triangulate based on all the people that they think they trust. And they come up with an opinion they think that is authentic or they think is original. But many times it's actually been programmed in. That's a word we use a lot, right? Like it's a program. And if you don't understand you're in the program, you can't break out. The first step to getting out is to realize you're in one. And that's the thing with Neo, right? The first step to getting out the matrix is to realize that there is a matrix, or else you're going to be stuck in that mug and you're just going to be comfortable with it. And I think a lot of people are just comfortable, and it's not a good place to be comfortable. Like I don't want to be well adjusted to a world that is broken, if that makes sense. You know what I mean? And so it's like, what do we pay attention to? How do we pay attention? That was another question you asked before we started recording. Is like, what are we paying attention to? And that word, even to that phrase, pay attention. Like you're literally, it's a transaction. You're literally paying with your attention. And if we're not paying the right things, or if we're not making the correct transactions, we're becoming indebted to a system that has nothing for us. And so we're paying these people with our money and with our time and with our eyes and with everything else that are trying to enslave us. And it's crazy to me that nobody can put these things together and see what was really happening. Or maybe they can and they just don't want to. I don't know. It's a crazy time.
That steak was so good to Buddy in the Matrix. He was like,
yeah, he definitely, because he knew 100%. He was like,
good.
Man, I wonder how many of those are around us today. People that know, but would rather just stay in it because it's comfortable.
I mean, comfortability and convenience of the world commodity right now. You mean to tell me that you could sit back, like we were saying in the last couple of talks, you could sit back and press buttons on your phone, get food delivered.
Yeah,
Like
that's the world we live in. It seems so easy, and
a
people want
shake
that.
or anything that you want. And it's just like you didn't have to do any outsource, getting the materials, even go getting it from the person yourself. You got it brought to you. So it's like
Mhm.
the fact that that's not only a supplied service, but it's actually very well maintained and in demand.
Yeah,
Unless
very
you know about,
accessible.
unless you really know about our community.
Mm.
I mean, yeah, technology has made it easier, but at what point in time do we say we're using this and it's becoming overwhelming,
Yeah,
crutching?
yeah. And then the way that impacts us mentally is we think everything is easy, right? Because if the path of least resistance for getting a food 100 years ago was you had to go out and hunt, and 50 years ago you had to go, to a grocery store miles away and make a day out of it. And now today it's literally just punching in some numbers on the app. What does that lead to? In 10 years, is it just going to be we 3D printing food? Like,
And if that's the goal, what you say, be transparent, be translucent, be clear about it.
yeah,
And we can decide if we want to live in a society like that.
yeah,
To say that I would prefer my food digitally created, I would deny that.
yeah.
But hey, people for
Some
that.
people might.
To
Yeah.
say, how would my
Mm.
body respond to something like that? Even though food does go through a process already,
Yeah.
but
It's like we want to go further down that road, or we want to start kind of making that 180 and try to figure out what's real. Because yeah, you said it, bro. It's really at the end of the day, like, man, are we really getting towards somewhere where we want to be? Transparency means that at least we all are on the same page about what's happening and where we're going. One of the lines I really like from Donda is Kanye said, "I never disguise my intent." And I really respect that, because there's some people who just won't feel you, and that's fine. And for me, if you're not going to feel me, I would rather just know that up front. I don't want to have to pander to somebody in order to get them to like me or to give me something and then turn around and actually be doing something else behind their back. Because then we're not moving in cohesion. We're not moving in unison. We're doing completely separate things. You think I'm doing one thing, I'm doing another thing. And that dishonesty is at the root of a lot of our problems today, because we don't even know where we're going. This person telling me we're going this way. This person telling me we're going this way. This person telling me they for me. This person telling me they against me. And at the end of the day, we just go like, okay, path of least resistance. We'll just go along with the flow. And that's where we end up today, because it's a lot of confusion, right? It's a lot of people that don't really know what's happening. And they say Satan is the author of confusion. That idea that we don't know, I think, is actually a lie. I think people do know. I think people do know deep in their gut that there's something wrong, but they choose to ignore that for whatever reason. And I don't know if it's because they just don't want to know it, or if it's because, like we were saying before, like it's just easier to stay with the group. We're talking about community, but if it's a toxic community, is that really something you want to be a part of? If it's a community that's telling you that you can't do what you want to do, or it's a community that's trying to adjudicate your decision making, is that really a community you want to be a part of? And I don't know if that's something that we've really thought through as a collective. Like, yeah, it's good to be in community, but are we in the right communities? And are these communities actually doing things that are empowering the whole, or are they just trying to empower themselves at the expense of the whole? And these are things that we got to at least consider.
Let's be clear about what the so-called leaders of these, I'm gonna just call them districts at this point. Like everybody got their own say of what they do in their own town, as far as just rules and regulations.
Yeah.
So it's like, what's really the goal if everybody has different rules and regulations? Not everybody agrees on the same thing. There's becoming a separation in priorities, what needs to be done, who's sick, who's healthy. You can't really determine who's sick and who's healthy if the community don't even know what
What
sick
health
and
is. Yeah,
healthy.
man. They trying to redefine everything. And it's crazy because you have people who like athletic physically and healthy mentally, people who are now being told that they're unhealthy because they won't get the thing, right? I don't want to get like kicked off of YouTube, so I'm not gonna say it. But you already know, like if you somebody like, so let's say somebody like you, somebody who played collegiate sports, cross country, basketball, physically healthy, but because you don't want to inject something into yourself, they're going to tell you that you're unhealthy. So what is the definition of health then? Because if health is just a holistic sense of being one in body and mind and soul and spirit and being able to execute on the things you want, that's one definition. But if these people are telling me their definition of health is being subjected to this system of authority, well, I'm not sure I want to be that type of healthy. That's not the type of healthy I'm talking about. And that's what we're saying when we're talking about transparency, when we're talking about the like understanding what the community's goals are. If we're not in the right community, if we're not looking at the same things as our end goals, we can end up being led astray very, very easily because they're using the same word. It's like these words become symbols to them. And if we just think, oh yeah, health is good, and these people say health is good, so that we must go along with them. Even like things like science. Like science is actually about critical thinking and about questioning authority. But they've redefined it to mean listening to the top dog and not questioning anything. And so if that's your definition of science, then maybe I am anti-science. I'm pro the type of science that Einstein was talking about. I don't know what this dude is talking about, because if we're talking about actually figuring out what the problem is, okay, yeah, I'm for that. But if we're talking about, I just have to listen to you because you're somehow in this social structure considered above me, I'm not with that, because I put nobody above me except for the Father, except for my Creator. And so in that respect, we have different agendas, we have different end goals. And so how we figure out how to live with that, that's a whole other other conversation in itself. Is like, I don't know. That like, I don't know, man. What is your like? I don't know how we even get to a point where we can be real with one another if somebody's version of real is that they want me gone. You know?
And we're coming to the revelations of knowing that there's people that want to live, there's people that inspire other people to live, there's people that even go out their way to help others.
Yeah.
You know, like you said, you take direction, you guide it from a essence that's otherwise greater than yourself, out of body. And are all people like that?
Mm.
Vice versa, do some people commune with the other side and just aren't
Right.
transparent about it?
Right. Right. Dang, that's real.
Say that church is the reality. Literally, you can type it up on YouTube and see that there are certain individuals who practice and who
All
give
type of divinations that is very, very satanic.
every exact everything. So many people are not always clear of their
Yeah.
energy behind their entity. So
Yeah, that's a good way to put it. That's a good way to put it. And I actually really and this is, some people think I'm weird for this, and this is partially why my initial cancellation, I believe, was because I wasn't like completely anti-Trump right away. And I'm not a Trump supporter, but I didn't think that he was evil. I just thought that he was belligerent and kind of an asshole in some ways. But I thought that he had a lot of good stuff to say. And at the same time, when I see somebody who's clear about where they're coming from, like I follow this person on Twitter who is a self-proclaimed occultist, and she got some weird stuff going on in terms of what she does, in terms of whatever spirit she's dealing with, but she's upfront and clear about it. She's not trying to like take anybody off of their path. She's just saying, this is what I'm doing. And so I follow that person and I listen to what they got to say sometimes, because I'm like, okay, this is the perspective. And if I want to understand that perspective, I got to listen to them. But when you have people who are pretending to be, and that's part of what the problem I have with the Christian church today is, you have a lot of people who are pretending, and it's messing it up for everybody, because now you have people who are up front and center who are also representing this dude called Jesus, and they're doing stuff that is on behalf of the person he was fighting against. And it's like, whoa, 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 whoa. Where are we going with this? What are we doing with this? We're like, is this something where y'all just trying to gas yourselves up so that you feel like, oh, I'm a good person? Because at the end of the day, that's not what this is about. Like we're trying to become better people. But if you're saying that you're already there, like that's a whole other thing. Like you're trying to say, oh, I'm a great person, so you should listen to me. I don't believe that. I believe we're all broken. I believe that we all have things to work on. And if there's a quote, I can't remember who said it, but it's don't trust a perfect person. And I believe that. If somebody comes to you and talks about, oh, I never lie, or I'm perfect, you better put your antennas up, because there's probably a lot of stuff in that person's closet that they're trying to hide by appearing perfect. And that's why I really believe in people who are publicly broken, people who are public with their mess. I love those people because of that. It's almost like people who are able to say, yeah, I'm not perfect. I got a lot of stuff that I've messed up on, like this, and the other. Wow, that person is transparent. I'm going to listen to that person. But we have it backwards in this society today, where instead most people are listening to the folks that seem perfect. And those are the very same people who actually have a lot of stuff that's going on in their lives that they don't want people to know. And so they seem like they got it all together. And then that's where we get all of these folks who, like, what's that dude that was giving all of these women advice about relationships? And it came out that he was like a fraud and he was cheating on his wife the whole time or something like that. Like, I forgot what his name was.
I don't really know so much of his name. I think it started with a B or something, but
yeah,
I heard about that though.
Yeah. It's like people like that, where you have that public facing persona and you say all the right things and you got all the right quotes, but internally you might as well be dead. And these are the people that you're listening to, instead of the people who actually tell you, yeah, look, yeah, I went through a divorce. Yeah, I messed up. Yeah, I'm not perfect. Those are the people that actually have the lessons. You don't listen to the person at the top of the totem pole to tell you what's going on. You listen to, you go to the person that's homeless on the street if you want to learn about the lessons of life. That person probably got a lot more to tell you about what's real than somebody who's at the top. Like all this stuff about, would you rather have 500,000 or dinner with Jay-Z? Like people are really talking about, I want to have dinner with Jay-Z. He will look at you funny. Like, what are you talking about, bro? Take the money. What are you doing here? Like we have to start to value ourselves and value the people that are around us in our immediate vicinity, instead of trying to glorify or elevate these people who seem like they're perfect because they're celebrities, or because they have a large following, or because they were co-signed by this person. Like at the end of the day, I think the root of it is that we don't trust ourselves. We don't trust our own judgment. We don't really know what's real and what's not. So we go with the rest of the crowd.
Bing, bing, bing. What's real, what's not. And to be in a society where things like appear real, but they're literally fake, can cause a mental disturbance, bro. Like money, is it even real now? And we're coming to like that. It's just, you can type in a couple of numbers, you can send it through to a bank, and you can get it spit out of an ATM. And how is that even real? And to say that the things that you can do to acquire money or funds, how does that even make it? It even looks like monopoly money now. Like you can just who's to say that a collective unit of people with a certain value to themselves can't come together and say, hey, let's make a different token of exchange.
Let's make our own currency. That's a lot of what's happening in the cryptocurrency space, to be honest. People are just
Yeah.
using their own coins and becoming their own boss in a way. And I think that might be the future. People just kind of having their own communities where they have different currencies for stuff that they care about. And I might be getting a little bit off topic, but I think that that's something that's really important too, is like how we define money and how we even think about it. I think it was Bob Marley who said, like, money is numbers and numbers never end. So if you need money to make you happy, then you'll never be, because it's it's going to keep going. What's real is the human relationships. In a way, the money is what in some way, money is something that is a transit. It's a unit of value that you can maybe incentivize somebody to do something. So I'll give you this money if you do this for me, right? And because we all use money for different stuff, we're like, okay, that makes sense. But what happens when you actually have a genuine relationship with somebody and you guys are in agreement on the direction you're headed? A lot of times you can just do that thing and it wouldn't even necessarily need a dollar amount towards it. It's just something that you're working together. It's a collaboration towards something. And work is still being done. You're still moving forward, but there was no money in that transaction. And now I feel like what's happening is that money is being injected into every little crevice of society, to where people can't even have real social relationships unless, oh, you got to pay me, bro. Sorry. Oh, you got to, even down to sex. Like, oh, now it's something where people are paying for that. Like, you got people who are paying, like they've never had a real encounter with a woman because it's all mediated through through this money, right? And so it's like, even that's not real. People on whether it's online or in real life, like, people just don't really have that sense of attachment to other people at the same level that maybe we used to, because we don't really depend on each other. Instead of loving people and using money, we're doing the opposite, right? We're using people and loving money. And that's what it meant when the love of money is the root of all evil. Not that money in itself is the root of all evil, but the love of it. Because when you love money, then you're pushing people out of that equation. Now you've gotten all the love that you have inside of you for this fake thing, and the real people around you that actually have needs and that actually have, that even people that want the best for you, you've cut them out of your life because of money. And it's crazy to me, but it makes sense to some people, because I guess that's what they've set up their life as, a big ATM where they're just trying to get as much as they possibly can.
What is college? College literally tells you, hey, you go ahead and learn something, be a professional so you can get.
Yeah. And that goes back into what we're paying attention to, right? Like, in terms of, now we're talking about fiscally, money, monetarily, what are we paying? And all of these things go into what we value. And so if we don't value the right things, then we're going to end up in a place where we don't want to be. And the people who may see that there is something wrong, but don't say anything, they're along for the ride too. They have to realize, people need to realize that, look, your silence is, and I think this is, like, people used to say this all the time, but I haven't seen this a lot on social media recently. It's like, silence is taking the side of the oppressor. That was like something I used to see on like Facebook and Twitter all the time, in terms of like Black Power and BLM and stuff. Like, if you're silent, you're taking the side of the oppressor. All of a sudden, they silencing people. They're saying, be quiet. And people who are maybe agreeing with those people are silencing themselves. They're self-censoring because they don't want to be on the other end of that, on the other end of the firing range. But what they don't understand is that what they're doing is tacitly endorsing the system that is already in place. By not saying anything, you're just giving the people who already have the power more authority to do the F stuff, the messed up stuff that they're on. So it's like, man, there's a lot of good stuff, I feel like, in first half, bro. Like, how do we get to a place where, okay, our communities are actually rooted in something that's real? Like, how do we get to a place where we are actually in agreement and it's something that's not fake?
We need to consider a common goal.
Mm.
First and foremost, even if it's a small thing, like I feel like, yeah, there's a pandemic going on, but this is now where we need to be around each other more
Mm.
in a way that we need to be here for each other. It's like the term social distance has created a social disconnect.
Yeah.
So regaining some sense of community awareness back by
Yeah.
being
It's like
the
they
only
they've trained us to be scared of each other in some ways.
exact
Like if somebody
bro,
even does a little cough, now everybody like,
man,
oh snap, clear
not
the
even a
room.
cough, not even a cough, bro. I, oh goodness. And I thought I was like a monster or something the way this lady was acting. I went to the store yesterday and I'm just in there with my lady and it was a t-shirt store. I'm just like, take a picture of it. I took my mask off, just to take a picture, smile and whatnot.
Yeah.
And next thing I know, one of the employees there literally looked at me and like pointed and was like, "Oh, do not come any closer to me." And I'm just like, what's going on? And she's like, "No, do not come any closer." And I'm like, uh, uh, my mask. She's like, "Yeah, put your mask on, please." I'm like, you didn't just see me taking a picture, but okay. I'm like, I'll just put it back on. But it's like,
Uh,
you're literally scared of somebody taking a picture or something. But it was just like,
I don't know how
uh,
people don't see this, bro. How do
it
people
was
not notice? Like,
like,
how do people not see this? It's fear. It's all fear based.
but let me have had a bottle of water. I had to drink. It's like, or some bread or something I was eating. It would have been comfortable for me to
Yeah.
just take a bite of it right quick.
It's just complete. The crazy part is that the people that are thinking are being accused of being the dummies, and the people that aren't thinking and are just being completely led by emotions and CNN are the ones that we're elevating as somehow morally righteous. And it doesn't make any sense to me,
Either
because you
do
have the
that.
folks who are actually saying, yo, why do we have to do this? Or what is the side effects of this? Or how is this going to impact my family? Or how is this going to affect our relationships? Shut up. Why are you asking questions? Meanwhile, the obese lady who decided to get her vaccine is somehow a bastion of morality, and she's the person that we need to be looking at as this person who we all, wow, look at this person. Like, yeah, like, wait a second. This whole society is getting turned upside down, bro. This is so backwards. This is so backwards. I saw somebody say today that social media is the way social media is today, especially with censorship. We are removing all of the interesting people, all the people who have any original thoughts. We just do away with because of fear, right? And it's just flattening out, like you just smoothing out the social structure. Everybody has to be on the same whatever. Like we all have to agree with this person. But that's not how real life works. Real life is tug and pull and push, and we figure out truth by engaging with each other and debate. And yeah, with the foundation being love, but it doesn't mean that we have to pretend to agree. It doesn't mean that we have to pretend to be, oh yeah, that's fine because whatever. No, it means that I'm going to tell you the truth because I love you, and I'm going to tell you what I really feel. And hopefully that means that we can actually get a little bit closer to what is real. But when you have people who are, as you said before, who are explicitly against what's real and maybe misrepresenting themselves to act as if they aren't, then it becomes tough, because what are you going to do? You're going to tell them that, like, yo, I'm more real than you. And now that person's going to take that and run like, oh, look at this narcissist person who doesn't know anything. And he's whole time they're the person that's actually wearing all of those clothes of narcissism and of inhospitality or whatever the word is, and all that stuff. Like, I don't know. It's like you have the people that are actually guilty who are accusing the people who aren't. And it's very, very odd. Very, very odd.
Very, very odd. And to say that I have some personal experience of that, and it's just to get to a point where me as a person, I only want to be a model to who's in my household,
Mhm.
to whatever life God gives me to lead and structure. So in order to do that, I actually have to do what I say and do the work. They're looking at me. They're going to say, hey, you was doing this and I seen it work for you. I could do that. And at a point in time, I feel like the structure of doing things to teach other people has been disconnected because
Mhm.
you can easily lie and say that you're something you're not
I think I saw you.
paying to take your classes and
Yeah.
you can get free.
You had a post
Or
about that I saw that was really good about like how it was something along the lines of like people just taking somebody else's stuff and claiming it as their own.
Mhm.
But yeah, that idea where we don't even like, because we don't know where the original source is, maybe it becomes easier and easier for people to just slide in and pretend that there's something they're not. And so the people that are actually doing the work now get discarded. And you have people that are trying to fill in saying, oh yeah, this is how we go. Like the whole time, the person that actually made that discovery and has all of the insights that could save folks, we're not listening to that person because he isn't pristine. He hasn't been media trained. He isn't whatever,
He
right?
doesn't have a diploma.
Yeah.
White people that says he's certified to do the,
You know what's
you know,
actually I'm finding out now, bro? They don't even care about the diploma. That was just one of the ways that they use to get people to feel like they're stupid. Because there's folks I know, like there's this dude who has a master's in molecular biology who talks about the drawbacks of the vaccine. Oh, I shouldn't even said the word, whatever. He talks about the drawbacks of the jab, and he's always giving examples and he's providing evidence and studies. And they talk about him like he's the stupidest person on earth. I'm like, yo, this dude is 10 times smarter than you. Why? But because they have that
exactly.
audacity, because they feel like, oh, the Snopes fact checkers told me, so I'm going to tell him. Whole time, this dude has spent 8 years studying. So it's not even necessarily about the degrees anymore. It's just about if you line up with what everyone else is saying. And if you don't, you stupid. Regardless, it don't matter if you're the most intellectual person alive. If you don't line up with what we say, sorry. Sad times, man. Sad times. And I don't think people realize that they're the ones being played. It's like they think that they're the ones doing the playing, but at the end of the day, like I said this today, or maybe I said it yesterday. It's like when people start to wake up and realize that they've been duped, it's going to be a lot of explaining some folks are going to have to do. And people who are continually pushing some agenda and acting like it was out of good faith, when people start to realize that this was actually something, whether you were paid to say this or whether you were a part of this, whatever, now you're going to have to double back and start saying, oh, well, either I didn't mean it or I wasn't 100% sure, whatever, whatever, whatever. And this is getting to a point where people are just setting themselves up for failure just because they weren't honest with themselves. They weren't honest with the people. Like every single person, like I don't really have any influence. I know that because people, I've been like shadow banned or whatever, but every single person that does listen to me, I take that to heart. I'm not trying to lead anybody astray because if I believe something, even if I believe it in my heart of hearts, I'm never going to tell somebody else to do something. I'm never going to tell somebody else they have to believe what I believe. I'm just going to try to walk how I walk, and I'm going to give you my 2 cents and let people do with that as they may, because I don't want to be responsible for leading somebody down the wrong path. But some of these people are way too comfortable just taking whatever talking points are being given to them and then handing it down to the people that follow them as if it's fact. And if these people now take these directions and end up running off a cliff, the people that gave them the directions are going to put their hands up like, oh, well, you should have done your own research. Or, oh, well, I didn't know. And I'm like, where is the responsibility? It's like the people that pay nothing for being wrong are the people that we're given all the power to. And then we wonder why we're in this position. It's like, well, like you can't just be completely irresponsible with the information and with all of the things that have transpired and then just expect to just be good afterwards. But I guess that's the way this game has been set up ever since 08, when the crash happened and the bailout happened, with the people that were responsible for everything ended up walking away scot-free. I feel like that's what's almost happening in this day and age, where you have the people that are building up all of these false narratives. At the end of the day, they're probably going to walk away scot-free. And it's a shame, because what are we teaching ourselves? We're teaching ourselves that you can lie. We're teaching ourselves that it's okay to be dishonest, that you can, if the ends justify the means, that you can mislead people. Is that what we're headed towards? And if that's the case, then I don't know if I want to be a part of this community. I don't know if I want to be a part of that. Like, that's why I just stay transparent. I'm not claiming that I have all the answers. I'm not even claiming I have half the answers. But what I am saying is that I know what I know, and I'm gonna just say how I feel. One of the things that I used to say a lot is, I don't strategize, I open eyes. And that, to me, that just meant I'm not trying to do the whole chessboard thing and try to get people to believe this by doing this, that, and the other. I'm gonna just say how I feel. And if people vibe with it, they vibe with it. If they don't, then they don't. And at the end of the day, that's how I feel like we should all be. We should just be, in some way, shape, or form, giving up our truths, our 2 cents, understanding that we might be wrong, but also understanding that we might be right. And so not backing down off of what we say, but at the same time, just having that sense of humility. But it gets harder and harder to be humble in this day and age, when people keep on trying to tell you that you don't know anything. It's like, okay, look, I know I'm not I'm not the most, genius person on the planet, but you're not about to play me like I'm not me. You know what I'm saying? Like, people want to keep trying to play you. They want to try to test you. And it's like, it's a sad state of events. And it all comes back to that mental health. Because if we don't have the right information, then who's to say that we're even walking in the correct paradigm to where we even have the ability to be truly healthy? We're creating a whole generation of people who are mentally unstable. And we just want to absolve ourselves of that. Like, somebody's got to take responsibility at some point. Like, it's not all an accident. If we talk about mental health as being something that's not wrong with you, but something that's happened to you, then we got to start looking at what's happened. You know what I'm saying? And I don't think we're really doing that. We're still trying to blame the person who is mentally whatever, saying that person needs to fix something by taking drugs, by doing this, by doing that, completely ignoring the conditions that were around that person that gave rise to that whatever. We just ignore that. Like, oh, whatever, that doesn't matter. That person is what's wrong. Okay. We'll see where that takes y'all. But I don't think it's going to be the truth. Man, I don't know. I got one more question for you, and then maybe we can just do a little bit of off-cuff stuff. But I was thinking about this idea of flourishing, like human flourishing, versus just kind of managing, like just being able to manage a situation, versus actually being like abundant and thriving in a situation. And I wanted to just know your thoughts on what the difference is on that, like how we maybe are today and what the difference is between those. Because I think that right now we're just trying to get to a place where everything is managed, but we're not really actually encouraging people to be themselves in a way that actually lets them thrive. I don't know if you agree with that, if you disagree with that, or what your thoughts are on that.
Well, personally, going through the school system, going through education, living life as a male of color, there are definitely constraints mentally. Whereas, to say, if there wasn't constraints, they say you only use a certain part of your brain power. What if we were using all of our brain power? And it's like, who can we really look at and say that person's using all of their brain power, and say that's a model example of how do you even know this is how you need to look? Because mentally, your body is going to adjust to whatever eat, do,
Yeah.
say, even.
Yeah. Words are powerful,
So
man.
you untap a whole unseen being once you get into a mental abundance.
Yeah.
And it's hard to say, especially right now, who's really that person who transformed, who evolved. You don't have no prime example. You can't really point to somebody and say, that person is there mentally and physically, spiritually, emotionally, like all of it is so aligned that their presence, it just inspires people to do better around. When it's just like, you could just tell. And I feel like that's why artists, more in general, musicians, are really big in this day and age right now, because the influence of the energy that they give off to inspire people to do and act a certain way. It's like people are searching for a new inspiration to behave a certain way, because it's like we kind of lost that.
Yeah. Personally, that's why I'm a fan of Kanye. I know he's not perfect, but I feel like he's trying to break the boxes in a lot of ways.
Yeah, Kanye is, bro, he's a genius. And I give reference to him as far as myself creating art. Like, I listened to Kanye music growing up, seeing the evolution of just not even from the music, but to the fashion as well. Like, that was a true inspiration to the point where I'm like, man, he's thinking. He's thinking. Like,
Yeah.
oh,
Yeah. He said,
many
there was
people.
one thing he said, my bad, I didn't even mean to cut you off. There was one thing he said that
Yeah.
I thought was really dope. He said, we have these constraints put on us, and it's almost like, when was the time you were most stressed as a kid and in school? Like, when was the time you're most stressed? Usually on test day, right? And so he said, we've set up this life to where people feel like they're constantly being tested, where everything that they say is going to be on the record forever, and they need to have the right answer. And he said, I'm not trying to say the right answer. I'm just saying how I feel. And at the end of the day, it is what it is. Like, and that really hit me, because I'm like, yo, we are in this sort of this test where everything is just like, people are just watching, how are you going to do this, how are you going to do that. And I'm not interested in somebody trying to judge me or try to say that, like, this is the value we're going to put on you because this is what we see. Who are you? I'm
Exactly.
infinite. So if you can't see that, then that's an indictment on you. That has nothing to do with me. And at the end of the day, people think that they have they're able to judge folks. And that's where I'm like, whoa, what happened to only God can judge? What happened to the fact that we are all human and we are all fallible? We are all broken. But no, we have these social structures now to where some people are able to say, oh, wow, these people are less than, and these people are more than, and these people. It's like, oh, because of your job title or because of your net worth, this is how much respect I'm going to afford you. And it's like all of these little heuristics that we use to put people in boxes, whereas we should be doing the exact opposite. We should be freeing people from boxes by saying, actually, you could do this if you want to. Oh, wow, you have a little bit of talent there. Maybe you should develop that. Oh, this is something that you're really dope at. But we do the exact opposite. We keep on saying, no, this is, you shouldn't do that, or you can't do that, or this, that, or the other. We're playing ourselves. As a species, we're playing ourselves, because what could we be if everybody was operating at 100%? Like you said, we would be solving problems left and right, like, boom, global warming. Oh, yeah, we fixed that 10 years ago. Like, oh, this social inequity. Oh, we can knock that out right now. But it's like,
men and women would not be fighting.
that would be another huge one. We would understand each other. Man,
You
that would
talk
be
about
beautiful. That's a really
transparency.
beautiful day.
Talk
Oh
about
man.
transparency. Men and women would be able to
I can't wait.
develop and nurture and
Yes. Yes.
and
Men would be providing and they would be responsible with the power that they have, and women would likewise be nurturing, and they would be responsible with the power they have, because they have a lot of power, and they don't sometimes realize that how they affect men in some ways is it returns to them. Like if you take care of your man, and he gonna take care of you. But sometimes we have this idea that, oh no, men are bad, so I have to denigrate him until he does what I want. Whole time you're just breaking him down to where he can't even offer you anything anymore. And it's crazy. It's crazy, bro. But yeah, my computer's about to die. I just got like an alert that said I got like 10% left, and I don't like I have like to get a new battery thing, so I have to charge it when it's off now. But I don't want to end this conversation. Dang. Well, what do you got left for me? Because I know we closing in on an hour anyway. So what are you thinking? What's some closing thoughts that you got for the people?
as far as just overall what we just talked about, we all just need to start doing our own personal. How can we become more transparent? How can we become more authentic to self, to inspire others to express? So, you know, I do my job, bro, by always representing, bro, you know, and it's natural to me now. It's basically on repeat to where I walk up to somebody and say, if anything's possible, desire to be extraordinary. They're like, I never heard that before. I'm like, yeah, I appreciate it. God given, you know, express yourself. And to know that me speaking to somebody can gain a connection.
A real connection, not an internet
real
connection. Yeah.
And to say that I'm unique with it, it brings a whole nother type of, he's thinking about something. And to say not many people are thinking right now. Even
you saw that post I had with the one dude that said democracy is a government for the people, by the people, of the people, but the problem is the people are stupid.
Oh, yeah, hey, man. Bro,
oh,
point. So it's just like,
we gotta wake them up, man. We gotta wake them up. Hey, much love to you. Y'all go check him out. You already know. Faith and Desire, Faith to be Great. Check him out on the Instagrams and the socials as well. Divine Lead with 3 eyes. Check me out. Time to Grow Dude on Twitter and Instagram. That's if they don't cancel me before this episode airs. We'll see. But much love to you, bro. Thank you for this. This has always been good. This is like therapy for me, to be honest with you. So
likewise.
All right, man. Y'all be easy. Until next time.